about a lot of the important stuff going on in the world of boxing. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop Dibiase, the Primetime Capper, and I'll be right back at you.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners, and I'll have another in Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop Dibiase, the Primetime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune into Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
We are back with the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles. And, boxing news, we got a whole bunch of stuff going on in the boxing world real quick. And before I jump into any other subjects and things like that, I like to address a situation that is kind of running around rampant. You know what I mean? And, there's a lot of people that I can always call to get the actual answers to a lot of this stuff. So when people throw out things like fights that are not ever going to happen, you make yourself look pretty bad, because when that fight doesn't happen, then you're starting to make yourself like you're making yourself like a National Enquirer type of situation where you just need to have eyes on things and stuff like that. And when it comes to boxing, people have to always have the facts and always have the things that actually are true when it comes to these fights being set up. There's a lot of fights that get talked about, but then there's a lot of things that are never going to happen. And I think a lot of people have to stop selling their own little fantasy as a way to try to get engagement to be a boxing content creator and things like that. Stick to what is actually happening. And, the fanatical fantasy stuff, you just keep it in your head. You know what I mean? Because y'all looking bad, bro. Like, I'm going to keep it real, looking bad. Like, Chris Mannix has no real connections with PBC. So why is he reporting PBC business? You know what I mean? And he's been very wrong before. And you guys really ran with everything that he said. And then when he was wrong, everybody was mad at him. You know what I mean? And then we have somebody else, saying that a certain fighter is going to fight Canelo. And Canelo is still thinking about golf right now. Canelo ain't decided on who he's going to fight. And Canelo got to fight somebody that can help him produce $50 million for a fight. He can't just fight the contender of the week, the flavor of the month. It don't work like that. And I think a lot of people just don't truly understand the business of boxing, but they think that they do, but they don't. That's the whole thing. That's when they say you don't know shit about boxing, that's kind of what they be meaning sometimes too, is that y'all don't know about the business side of boxing. And then you try to get mad at it when you don't get your way. And it just happens. You know what I mean? And sometimes I ask, well, do you guys want to put up the money to make sure that they get the fight going? Or is everybody going to buy the pay-per-view? Are people going to sell out the arena? Are we going to do all that? Are we? Think about it. Okay. There are people that do that, but majority of boxing fans are just sitting around typing on their phone, being mad. So pretty much, at the end of the day, give the people the true facts, give the people the real news. Don't play with their emotions like that, because boxing is a very, very, sensitive game. And, you got to make sure that you're on point when what you're, reporting. And I'm just doing this out of love. I'm not doing this out of hate or anything like that. But if you take it that way, it's just you. You know what I mean? So let's go ahead, jump into it. Let's talk about David Benavidez going against Boo Boo Andrade and Andrade. I remember they told me. I remember they was on my head hard when I interviewed Demetrius out in Miami years ago, and they were like, "Make sure you say Andrade, not Andrade." You know what I mean? So, yeah, Benavidez Andrade are set for the fall. It looks like it's going to be in late November as well too, and they're saying that Jamal Charlo is going to be on that card as well too, fighting against David's brother Jose. So that should be a pretty good look right there. But this fight to me does present the best fight both these guys have ever had. Think about it. And I think that David Benavidez has done a good job of being able to answer the call. And when he said that he wanted to fight Caleb Plant, make sure he fought Caleb Plant, he fought Caleb Plant. Even though the belts weren't on the line and all that good stuff like it was supposed to be before, it just didn't matter. They went and got it on. They took care of it. They went and scrapped it out, and they got whatever beef and whatever was built up by fans out of the way. And those guys are cool now. They eat lunch and dinner when they see each other now, because that's how the boxing world works. That's how the boxing community works. These guys don't hate each other as much as you want them to. It's all to sell a fight. It's all to make sure that they get the guaranteed monies that they've been promised. You know what I mean? So you have to sell fights. You have to sell theater. You have to sell drama. And David Benavidez has proven to be pretty good at that. They say, oh, David's talking way too much. No, David is doing what he's supposed to do. He's been told by his promoter to keep talking. Samson is telling him to do that. So then they can keep building the Mexican monster. That's what it's all about. And Boo Boo Andrade is a guy that's been, very much thrown away. Okay. He's a guy that a lot of people have pretty much given up on because he hasn't fought the fights that, you're supposed to fight as a successful middleweight champion or a successful super middleweight. And it feels like Father Time is really, really catching up with Boo Boo a little bit. You could see that in his last fight as well, too. And I think that him going to PBC was probably the best move of his career. So then he can actually get these fights set up with the guys that he is supposedly been chasing for all these years. And I do feel that in a lightweight way, Andrade has been ducked, because the thing is he's not bringing as much capital to the fight. You're paying him more than he's paying you. And, pretty much that he's probably going to say he's the A side, but he's not the one selling the fight. We know that if the fight's not at Dunkin' Donuts Center in Rhode Island, it's not going to sell. Let's keep it real. And I think that that's why a lot of people have avoided Demetrius, because he doesn't give you the great idea of being a great dance partner. It just gives you a bad look on how the fight would go. But really, that just means that he's a guy that will give you problems, but you don't want to admit it. That's the whole thing. And pretty much, I feel like now this is a great time for him to prove himself, because if he can go in there and beat David Benavidez and beat him convincingly, then now everybody's calling Boo Boo's phone. And I'm going to keep it real with you. He'll probably get the Canelo fight. I know Canelo said never, payday. Well, Canelo was instructed to say that by Eddie Hearn in a sense, in reality. Just like Canelo said, he will fight anybody. But see, you have to understand, when Boo Boo ran in there, Canelo already had a plan. Okay? Canelo had a plan for his next 4 fights. And Andrade was not a part of that. Okay? And so pretty much, since you came in my press conference trying to embarrass me, I'm going to embarrass you. And that's really what that was. But if he's able to take out David Benavidez, then he gets the Canelo fight. And David Benavidez knows that there will be no more running if he's able to beat Boo Boo, a guy that, Canelo said he wasn't worthy to fight him and da-da-da-da-da. But if David Benavidez can go in there and do David Benavidez' job on Boo Boo and park him, get him out of here, then he'll wind up being the hottest name in the sport. And that's exactly what he needs to get the Canelo fight. You know what I mean? He has to get that name. Hey, Karma, how you doing? How's everything? Thank you for joining the show with us today. And And the thing is, I came in kind of late too. But I got to make sure that I say what's up though. But thank you for checking in. And pretty much when you get down to it, man, this is going to be a fight that really does. It's going to be a good fight. It's going to be a great fight. And I truly feel that both need this platform so they can be seen by just more than avid boxing fans. They can be seen by pretty much, the fans that are very into boxing, but they're not into boxing. You feel what I'm saying? And I think that this is the perfect fight for him to step into the next phase. And if he's able to beat a name like Boo Boo, who was a champion, it's because he was a champion for so long. It's gonna look really good. But David is already looking good as he goes. He's a two-time champion himself. But hopefully the discipline has arrived, because we can say what we want. We can look at it in a certain way, but we need this boy to be more disciplined. And it's that simple. When you become a world champion again, can we trust you? Will you be able to pass the urine test? Will you be able to make weight? All these questions and all these things. And David's such a special talent. A lot of people have overlooked that part. But with others, you literally throw them away. But with Benavidez, it's been different. It's been because he's been able to still keep performing at a high level. And that's one thing that we can all commend. And that's one thing that we can all, pretty much, all, make our dues with and everything like that. And, we tip our cap to that. But this should be a good fight. I look forward to it. I expect a lot of great things to happen in this fight. And that's where I'm going with that right there. So pretty much let's go ahead and move forward to our next segment for